The Jain family members have mutual understanding among themselves. In that family, there is a celebration of happiness. However, in today's times, we see that the daily fights in the house, the son doesn't listen to his father. The daughter-in-law does not listen to her mother-in-law, and the young man earning in the house is caught in the quarrels between his mother-in-law and his mother. Neither his mother nor his wife understands his words, and there are daily troubles in the house. How can a man progress? How can happiness come if there is joy in the house? To eliminate this conflict, Buddha suggested a path. If a person follows it, there will be only happiness in his house. To know this path, we need to listen to this story till the end. Before you get lost in this story, be sure to subscribe to this channel. So let's start the story. It was a time when Gautam Buddha, after attaining enlightenment, traveled from city to city, seeking alms and sharing his knowledge with people. Once, on the day of Purnima, full moon, Buddha entered a city with his alms bowl in hand, accompanied by 1250 monks. They were all walking at a slow pace and in a state of silence. The streets of the city were adorned with lamps and fresh flowers. Buddha and his Sangha were welcomed on both sides of the roads, and the crowd was surging to greet and celebrate them. The group of monks, moving at a gentle pace and in a state of silence, attracted attention. When the procession reached intersections, the crowd became even more significant, making it challenging for Buddha and the monks to move forward. They were having difficulty understanding how to proceed. At that moment, a young man playing a musical instrument, the veena, was present. The melody of his song was sweet, and as he sang and played the veena, more people gathered. With his singing and veena playing, he created a path for Buddha to move forward. The youth continued to sing, and with his musical guidance, the crowd made way for Buddha and the monks to reach the king's gate. The king of that city, Bimbisara, had invited them for a feast. The king personally welcomed Buddha with 6,000 invited guests and attendants, escorting him to the entrance. Buddha, along with the group of monks, was taken to the courtyard of the royal palace. A vast canopy had been set up to protect the guests from the sun. Buddha was seated with utmost reverence in the midst of the Brahmins. Special arrangements were made for the monks as well. When Buddha took his seat, the king requested everyone to be seated on their respective cushions. Afterward, Buddha and the other monks commenced their meal. The king and others maintained complete silence until Buddha and the monks finished their meal. Their peaceful and joyful demeanor left a profound impact on all the royal guests. After Buddha and the 1,200 monks had finished their meal, their alms bowls were collected, cleaned, and returned to them. Following this, the king approached Buddha with folded hands. Understanding the king's desire, Buddha began to impart the teachings of Dharma. Discussing the path of Panchshil, 5 precepts, he stated that those who adopt these principles will experience everlasting peace and prosperity in their families and kingdoms. Joy and happiness will prevail in their homes. However, those who do not follow the path of Panchshil will encounter sorrow, and their homes will be plagued with difficulties. After this, he began to explain that the first precept is to abstain from causing harm to living beings. You might wonder what this has to do with the happiness of a family. Buddha clarified that adhering to this precept cultivates a sense of compassion. All beings fear death. Just as we are attached to our lives, we should strive to understand and respect the lives of other beings. It's not only human violence that should be avoided, but also harming other creatures should be prevented. We should practice non-violence towards humans, animals, and plants. If we cultivate a sense of love in our hearts, we can reduce suffering and make life joyful. If every citizen takes a vow of non-violence, there will be peace in all families. When people respect each other's lives, there will be harmony among neighbors and within families, and no conflicts. The second precept is to abstain from taking things that do not belong to us. No one has the right to use wealth earned by others. Trying to take others' possessions is a violation. Do not deceive others or exploit your influence to take away others' belongings. We often see that most family disputes arise from the fact that one family member is earning, while the other is consuming without contributing. But until when will the second member will earn? His hard-earned income is his own. And when you are capable but still not earning, it's clear that conflicts will arise in the household. Until a certain age, it's the father's responsibility to nurture and support the son. However, after that age, if the son doesn't start earning, the father gets angry, leading to conflicts in the household. This is the story of many brothers. One brother earns and the other sits and consumes. This leads to family conflicts. Therefore, don't depend on others' earnings. If you are capable of working, earn your own livelihood. This way, the family won't face division. The third precept is to abstain from extramarital relationships, meaning physical relations should only exist between husband and wife. Following this precept increases trust and happiness in the family. If you want contentment and joy in your home, avoid keeping many extramarital relationships. Nowadays, we see how many divorces are happening in society. There is no longer trust between husband and wife. If a husband is talking to another woman in the course of his work, it raises suspicions for the wife. This issue applies to the wife as well, creating a lack of trust between them. If there is no trust between husband and wife, how will the family function? How will happiness come into the family? However, if your conduct is good, both husband and wife naturally come to know about each other because they are close to each other. So, if you're in the right place, your family will always thrive and happiness will prevail. The fourth precept is to refrain from false speech. Avoid speaking words that may lead to division or hatred. Your words should be based on truth. Saying yes should mean yes, and saying no should mean no. The power to inspire trust and contentment lies in words. Words can create misunderstandings and animosity. Here, to the extent that murder and war are possible due to them. Therefore, please use words with utmost caution. We see that the quarrels between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law in households happen only because of language. If we speak the truth, speak clearly, and measure our words carefully, there will be very few fights and arguments in the home, and if they do happen, they won't escalate to a significant extent. They will end in a short time. But when we start fighting or getting angry, we end up saying words that linger in our hearts forever and create hatred towards the person who, even in love, can never change. So no matter how angry you are, measure your words before speaking. Don't say any words that create everlasting resentment in the heart of the other person. On the topic of jinx, speak only about the subject under discussion. Don't bring in another topic in between. The fifth precept is to stay away from intoxicants or addictive substances. Clarity of mind ends with the consumption of alcohol and stimulants. When someone is under the influence of intoxication, they create a lot of difficulties for themselves, their families, and other people. Following this precept keeps the body and mind healthy. Many people are addicted to alcohol. When they come home after drinking, their family members are distressed. Their wealth is depleted, and they become victims of diseases themselves. After that, their family has to endure a lot of hardships. If we follow this precept, there will be no fights or arguments in our homes. Your health will also be maintained, and your wealth will stay intact. If everyone studies and follows these 5 principles, your family will live in great happiness. Hearing this, the king rises with joy and pays homage to Buddha. Following that, the queen says that apart from their child, there are 400 other children present here. Can you also show them a path for a bright future? Smiling, Buddha addresses the children, saying that before obtaining human life, I have lived in the wombs of the earth, stones, plants, birds, and various other animals. Your situation was the same. Today you are sitting in front of me because in past lives we must have had some connection. It's possible that in some other life we were connected due to joy or sorrow. Today I will tell you a story that dates back to thousands of births. This tale involves a heron, a crab, a tree, and fish. It's possible that one of them was the heron or one of the fish. I was a tree at that time. The heron was very cunning, and because of him I had to endure a lot of suffering. However, through that suffering I learned that anyone who deceives or causes pain to others will one day experience suffering and deception themselves. I stood by the beautiful lotus pond in the form of a tree. There were no fish in the pond, but nearby there was a small reservoir with many fish and crab. A hovering heron spotted the pond and devised a plan to eat the fish. He stood by its shore looking very sad. When the fish asked him about the reason for his distress, he replied that he was troubled by their unfortunate condition. There was neither clean water here, nor food to eat. To the fish's inquiry about a way to alleviate their troubles, he said that if they wished, he could take them one by one to the nearby pond and release them there. There is clean water there, and there are also plenty of things to eat. The fish were not trusting the heron, so the heron said that if they were doubtful, he would first take one fish there to show, and then they would be convinced. After much thought, one large fish from among the others agreed to go. The fish swam swiftly and could also protect itself on the sand. The heron took that fish to the pond, showed it around, and brought it back. Satisfied with the heron's honesty, the fish requested to be taken one by one to that pond. After that, Buddha said, "I was standing there as a tree. The cunning heron would bring fish on my branches and eat the fish and throw the fish skeleton at the bottom of the tree. This continued in the same way. I was a tree and kept watching all this unfold. I felt a lot of anger, but I couldn't do anything. A tree is rooted and can do nothing other than grow branches. I couldn't warn the fish, nor could I help them. The heron could not be stopped from its misdeeds. I was helpless to witness that dreadful scene. Whenever it grabbed a fish, tearing it and causing its bones to fall below, it caused me great distress. Tears seemed to freeze on my bark. In this way, it devoured all the fish. I pledged that if I ever took a human birth, I would make efforts to protect the weaker ones from the powerful. In the end, when all the fish, including the flying fish, were gone, only one crab remained. When the heron asked it to come along, the crab said, 'How will you take me? If you try to carry me, I'll fall to the ground and die. So if you want to take me, I'll grab your neck with both my claws. Once we reach the pond, I'll release your neck.' The heron agreed to this. When the heron brought the crab above me, the crab said, 'Why did you bring me here instead of taking me to the pond?' The heron replied, 'No heron could be so foolish as to carry fish from one pond to another. Can't you see the scattered fish bones below? Now your life will end in the same way.' Hearing this, the crab began to pinch the heron's neck with its claws. In pain, the heron agreed to take the crab to the pond. The heron went to the pond and told the crab to release its neck and dive into the water. Remembering the death of all the fish from that pond, the crab, instead of releasing the heron's neck, pressed it, causing the heron to die. The crab then let go of the heron and went into the water. At that time, I was a tree, witnessing the entire scene. I learned from this incident that if we treat others with kindness, they are likely to treat us the same way. However, if we behave ruthlessly towards others, we will sooner or later face a similar situation. I vowed to help other beings in my future lives. So how did you like the story? Let me know in the comments section, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We'll meet in the next story. Until then, take care and stay blissful.